The name of this episode should have been Backstory, Backstory, Backstory. Let's talk about WandaVision, Episode 8. So in this episode, we finally get a lot of big questions answered, including how pretty much everything got started. Oh, and by the way, spoiler warning going up, because I'm totally going to talk about all the big stuff here. So here we go. So we start by learning Agatha's backstory, which was only a few minutes long and, to the point. Thing was, Agatha was a witch back in the Salem witch trial days, but she had some very powerful magical energies in her, so powerful in fact that her entire witch coven decided that she was too dangerous to live, and they tried to kill her, which included her mother, she was the leader of the coven. So your own mother trying to take you out, that's a pretty simple but straightforward villain backstory. I can roll with it. But Agatha's true power reacted defensively and took out her entire coven. She seemed like she was trying to control it at times, but either which way, the coven was going down, because apparently Agatha is just very powerful. Then we fast forward back to where we left off at the last episode, where Agatha has revealed herself to Wanda. She's letting her know, I'm a witch. And Agatha has put runes all over her evil lair, so Wanda's powers are pretty much inactive at this point, and Agatha is in total control, and gives a few little displays of her level of skill with her magic. But what Agatha really wants to know is, she wants to understand Wanda's powers, how they work, how she's able to do all of this. Because apparently, despite what a lot of people are theorizing, the entire hex, this whole bubble reality around the town of Westview, it's all Wanda. Agatha had, apparently, maybe we'll find out something different next episode, but as far as we know now, Agatha had nothing to do with it. She's just been playing along with the whole sitcom thing because she's been studying Wanda. So yeah, the whole hex thing is on Wanda. But in order for Agatha to understand Wanda's powers, because she's very, very intrigued, because according to her, what Wanda has done is unprecedented. She's convinced that Wanda's powers are magic, but for someone who hasn't been using magic for many years, this is insane what she's done. This reality, recreating buildings, brainwashing people, being this level of control, it's off the scale. So Agatha she really wants to understand it. So using Wanda's kids as leverage, because she has them kidnapped off somewhere, she makes Wanda go back through her life so Agatha can figure out what happened with Wanda, so she can whatever her grand plan is to steal Wanda's powers, I think, maybe, or just to kill her. Not quite sure. But anyway, Agatha uses her magic to take Wanda back through her life. We start out back in Sokovia when she was a little kid and her brother was there, and we find out the reason for the sitcom world. Her dad didn't have a job, but he did sell these DVD box sets of old American sitcoms, which is what I figured was going to happen. I figured we were going to have a flashback to when she was a kid. She's going to watch old-style sitcoms, and I'm far from the only person to think this, so yeah, that part was pretty obvious. But, it was nice to finally see it. But then we see the war going on, bomb hits, her parents are killed, her and Pietro survived, just like they said in Age of Ultron, a Stark bomb right there about to go off, but it didn't. But Agatha doesn't buy it. Agatha does not think it was a mere coincidence that the bomb that landed in their house just was a dud and didn't go off. She thinks Wanda's powers may have stopped it from going off, which is a bit confusing because we were previously shown in the movies that Wanda and Pietro both got their powers from the Mind Stone, and they didn't encounter the Mind Stone until they were adults. So this is giving us that what a lot of people theorized for a while, that Wanda has latent, both Wanda and Quicksilver, they both had latent abilities, and that this might be the introduction of mutants to the MCU, or at least that Wanda herself had latent magical abilities that she was unaware of. But anyway, we fast forward to years later when they joined Hydra because they'd become radicalized, and we see Wanda get her powers, and she's the first person to be affected by the Mind Stone and not die from it, therefore gaining her powers and all of that stuff. But we see that when she is energized by the Mind Stone, she has a vision of a silhouette, which the silhouette looks like Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda from the comics. Got a bit of the horns thing going on and the dress. So apparently she was having a vision of her possible future, maybe her destiny. I guess we're going to have to find out. But then, time moves on, blah, blah, blah. The battle at Sokovia happens with Ultron. Pietro dies. And we see a moment between her and Vision where Vision is very sweetly trying to comfort her and help her in her grief. Then Vision dies in Infinity War, and he dies again in Infinity War. And we go fast forward to the S.W.O.R.D. headquarters where they have Vision's body, and they've dissected Vision. And Wanda wants to take his body to be buried, but the head of S.W.O.R.D. says, I can't let you do that. You are not allowed, which increases her already intense grief because she wants to bury the man she loves, but she can't. And not that I want to side with the S.W.O.R.D. guy, but where was Wanda going to bury him? Vision is literally made of vibranium. The guy even says his body alone is worth $3 billion. Unless she was going to bury Vision's body in a very, very secure location, somebody would just dig it up and, try to sell his body off. But anyway, so then we go a little bit further. Wanda is now leaving. She's just distraught as hell. So many people in her life have died. She can't even bury Vision. And then she finds this note in her car. She goes to the town of Westview, and turns out that Vision had bought a little plot of land for them to build a house so they could settle down and live this life in Westview. And Wanda is just so taken back by Vision's last kind of letter of love to her, and she has a total mental breakdown, and her powers are fully unleashed, and she creates the hex around Westview. So yes, once again, Agatha apparently had nothing to do with the creation of the Westview anomaly, also known as the hex, which brings up a few questions. So now we see that Wanda didn't really do it intentionally. We see that, she had a mental breakdown, it created it, and as she said in an earlier episode, she didn't remember how it all started. So she was in some degrees control of this hex thing because she could force people out, she could rebuild walls, she could change the era, all this stuff. But she wasn't in full control of her powers because, with her mental breakdown. Which brings up the question, how much responsibility does go on Wanda's shoulders? She didn't intentionally start this thing, but as we've seen in previous episodes, she was aware of what's going on around her. And maybe not quite at first, but as time goes on, she was completely aware that, she's taken over this town and molded it into what she wanted to be. Which still kind of makes Wanda look like a bit villainous because she kidnapped a whole town. She is mind-controlling dozens of people. She did something to the kids. Was that her? Or maybe that might still be Agatha. Maybe Agatha had something to do with the kids all the kids in town being gone. I'm not sure. But, it still kind of sets Wanda up where, she needs to redeem herself. Because even if she defeats Agatha, even if she takes down the Hex, everybody in that town has a basic right to be very, very pissed off at her. But maybe, she'll do something and make up for it. I don't know. But you understand why this has happened. She just, the severe depression and all that stuff that has come from the tragedies of her life. You understand it. You don't blame her for, if you had these incredible super magical powers and you were your mental state was going down, what would happen, right? So, but we might not be able to blame her for the initial creation of it, but we might be able to blame her and hold her responsible for the things that happen after that. That's a discussion that I think a lot of people are going to be having in the days to come. But anyway, so finally, Agatha now understands Wanda's powers after going through the backstory of her life. She has her two sons, Billy and Tommy, with these magical nooses around their necks, and she tells Wanda, "I know what kind of magic you have. This is chaos magic. It's chaos magic, and this was prophesized. You are the Scarlet Witch." So apparently Wanda was always destined to gain these powers, and finally she is called the Scarlet Witch, which is the name of her super name in the comics. Up to this point, she's just been called Wanda Maximoff. If you're a Marvel fan, technically her name is Scarlet Witch, but no one's called her that. So finally, we've got the name drop. She's a Scarlet Witch, and apparently, according to Agatha, who is a veteran magic user and has knowledge of a lot of things, this was Wanda's destiny. And finally, the final part of the episode is, and I forgot to mention, not only did Wanda's powers create this whole Hex thing, but the Vision inside the Hex is not the original Vision. He is a construct of the original Vision. It just basically made in Vision, molded in Vision's image. And even though he has no memories of his previous life, was because, well, he didn't live that life. He's still the heroic type, which is, as I mentioned in the previous episode, like, despite the fact that she made this Vision just to be her fantasy vision for this world, she still made him a hero, because the last few episodes he's been doing his damnedest to try to help the people of Westview. So it may not be the original Vision, but he's got Vision's spirit. But anyway, because we find out that Sword never lost Vision's body. So, and now they've revived Vision's body, but he's all white and pale and a little gray here in areas. And they've reactivated him, but I'm guessing because, the Mind Stone is gone, Vision's mind is gone, period. So now they've reanimated his corpse basically as some kind of vibranium superweapon. So I'm guessing in the final episode, we're going to have a showdown with Wanda. I'm going to call him Hex Vision, the Vision that Wanda created. Zombie Corpse Vision, and Agatha. I'm guessing that's going to be a big showdown. Oh, and Quicksilver, who we find out is not the original Quicksilver either. He's actually a construct made by Agatha to be like a living spy drone for her. So yeah, a lot of questions answered. We finally find out how all of this got started. We find out who Agatha is, why she's just been playing along this whole time to understand Wanda's powers. We get finally some of the bigger questions answered. And now it's leading up to a big final showdown. Will Wanda finally accept who she is? Will she accept that what she's done is wrong and that she's got to let the town go? Is she going to be able to beat Agatha? Because Wanda has the power advantage here. Agatha has made it very clear that Wanda is ridiculously powerful. But Agatha, like I said, is a veteran magic user, and she has skills and abilities that Wanda may not be able to contend with. Maybe Doctor Strange would be able to contend with, but because Wanda, until these recent events, her powers, she's kind of kept them somewhat basic. The whole, telekinesis thing, it's not traditional telekinesis, I'm getting nerdy in the details there. Anyway, and then the mind reading and partial mind control. So, yeah, but if Wanda can gain full control of her powers, she should be able to defeat Agatha, even with Agatha's greater experience in magic. But anyway, yeah, so we finally got many big questions answered. They're setting up Wanda to finally be the Scarlet Witch from the comics. And, Vision's fate is unknown. They've reanimated his body, but his mind and his soul is gone. He's dead. But then we've got this Vision in the Hex. Is this Vision in the Hex going to be gone at the end of the series? Is he going to fade away? What's going to happen to the boys? What's going to happen to the town overall? Are we going to get to see Monica Rambeau use her powers from the comics? It's looking like they're heading that direction. I'm guessing we might get to see at least some of them. We're definitely going to see her in full power when they do Captain Marvel 2, because she's going to be in that movie. But yeah, anyway, so I'm excited for the season finale of WandaVision. I hope you are too. If you're not, let me know down in the comments. And let me know whatever else you're thinking down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about this. I, of course, will be watching the next episode and doing a review of that too. And I can't wait for it. But anyway, yeah, like I said, leave some comments down there for us to have a discussion. And do us both a solid by clicking that subscribe button. It helps out the channel and helps you out by letting you know when I've got a new video coming out. But until next time, guys, take it easy.